Main Quotes presents Best Quotes from Aristotle.
The end of labor is to gain leisure. Good habits formed at youth make all the difference. We make war that we may live in peace. What it lies in our power to do, it lies in our power not to do. The law is reason free from passion. Anybody can become angry. That is easy, but to be angry with the right person and to the right degree and at the right time and for the right purpose and in the right way, that is not within everybody's power and is not easy. Republics decline into democracies and democracies degenerate into despotisms. The worst form of inequality is to try to make unequal things equal. Fear is pain arising from the anticipation of evil. All human actions have one or more of these 7 causes: chance, nature, compulsions, habit, reason, passion, desire. Jealousy is both reasonable and belongs to reasonable men, while envy is base and belongs to the base, for the one makes himself get good things by jealousy, while the other does not allow his neighbor to have them through envy. At his best, man is the noblest of all animals. Separated from law and justice, he is the worst. Change in all things is sweet. The most perfect political community is one in which the middle class is in control and outnumbers both of the other classes. Wishing to be friends is quick work, but friendship is a slow ripening fruit. I count him braver who overcomes his desires than him who conquers his enemies, for the hardest victory is over self. It is best to rise from life as from a banquet, neither thirsty nor drunken. The secret to humor is surprise. Those who educate children well are more to be honored than they who produce them, for these only gave them life, those the art of living well. Pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. Mothers are fonder than fathers of their children because they are more certain they are their own. Friendship is essentially a partnership. In all things of nature there is something of the marvelous. There is no great genius without some touch of madness. Happiness depends upon ourselves. It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. Personal beauty is a greater recommendation than any letter of reference. He who is unable to live in society or who has no need because he is sufficient for himself must be either a beast or a god. Well begun is half done. He who hath many friends hath none. Hope is a waking dream. You will never do anything in this world without courage. It is the greatest quality of the mind next to honor. In making a speech, one must study 3 points. First, the means of producing persuasion. Second, the language. Third, the proper arrangement of the various parts of the speech. The ultimate value of life depends upon awareness and the power of contemplation rather than upon mere survival. Those that know, do. Those that understand, teach. The state comes into existence for the sake of life and continues to exist for the sake of good life. Moral excellence comes about as a result of habit. We become just by doing just acts, temperate by doing temperate acts, brave by doing brave acts. The educated differ from the uneducated as much as the living from the dead. Youth is easily deceived because it is quick to hope. Democracy is when the indigent and not the men of property are the rulers. Suffering becomes beautiful when anyone bears great calamities with cheerfulness, not through insensibility, but through greatness of mind. The one exclusive sign of thorough knowledge is the power of teaching. Dignity does not consist in possessing honors, but in deserving them. Whosoever is delighted in solitude is either a wild beast or a god. The aim of art is to represent not the outward appearance of things, but their inward significance. Love is composed of a single soul inhabiting two bodies. Courage is the first of human qualities because it is the quality which guarantees the others. Education is an ornament in prosperity and a refuge in adversity. My best friend is the man who, in wishing me well, wishes it for my sake. The roots of education are bitter, but the fruit is sweet. All paid jobs absorb and degrade the mind. The soul never thinks without a picture. The ideal man bears the accidents of life with dignity and grace, making the best of circumstances. The energy of the mind is the essence of life. Education is the best provision for old age. Quality is not an act, it is a habit. A friend to all is a friend to none. It is just that we should be grateful, not only to those with whose views we may agree, but also to those who have expressed more superficial views. For these also contributed something by developing before us the powers of thought. The aim of the wise is not to secure pleasure, but to avoid pain. Wit is educated insolence. The moral virtues, then, are produced in us neither by nature nor against nature. Nature, indeed, prepares in us the ground for their reception, but their complete formation is the product of habit. Poetry is finer and more philosophical than history, for poetry expresses the universal and history only the particular. I have gained this from philosophy, that I do without being commanded what others do only from fear of the law. If liberty and equality, as is thought by some, are chiefly to be found in democracy, they will be best attained when all persons alike share in government to the utmost. Democracy arises out of the notion that those who are equal in any respect are equal in all respects. Because men are equally free, they claim to be absolutely equal. The greatest virtues are those which are most useful to other persons. Even when laws have been written down, they ought not always to remain unaltered. For as the eyes of bats are to the blaze of day, so is the reason in our soul to the things which are by nature most evident of all. To attain any assured knowledge about the soul is one of the most difficult things in the world. It is clearly better that property should be private, but the use of it common, and the special business of the legislator is to create in men this benevolent disposition. He who is to be a good ruler must have first been ruled. Nature does nothing in vain. Men create gods after their own image, not only with regard to their form, but with regard to their mode of life. No excellent soul is exempt from a mixture of madness. A great city is not to be confounded with a populous one. Without friends, no one would choose to live, though he had all other goods. We must no more ask whether the soul and body are one, than ask whether the wax and the figure impressed on it are one. No one loves the man whom he fears. Politicians also have no leisure because they are always aiming at something beyond political life itself, power and glory or happiness. Persuasion is achieved by the speaker's personal character when the speech is so spoken as to make us think him credible. We believe good men more fully and more readily than others. This is true generally, whatever the question is, and absolutely true where exact certainty is impossible and opinions are divided. The whole is more than the sum of its parts. The poet, being an imitator like a painter or any other artist, must of necessity imitate one of three objects: things as they were or are, things as they are said or thought to be, or things as they ought to be. The vehicle of expression is language, either current terms or, it may be, rare words or metaphors. The wise man does not expose himself needlessly to danger, since there are few things for which he cares sufficiently, but he is willing in great crises to give even his life, knowing that under certain conditions it is not worthwhile to live. The least initial deviation from the truth is multiplied later 1,000-fold. We become just by performing just action, temperate by performing temperate actions, brave by performing brave action. To run away from trouble is a form of cowardice, and while it is true that the suicide braves death, he does it not for some noble object, but to escape some ill. Man is by nature a political animal. Plato is dear to me, but dearer still is truth. The duty of rhetoric is to deal with such matters as we deliberate upon without arts or systems to guide us, in the hearing of persons who cannot take in at a glance a complicated argument or follow a long chain of reasoning. Men are swayed more by fear than by reverence. Some animals are cunning and evil, disposed, as the fox. Others, as the dog, are fierce, friendly, and fawning. Some are gentle and easily tamed, as the elephant. Some are susceptible of shame and watchful, as the goose. Some are jealous and fond of ornament, as the peacock. In poverty and other misfortunes of life, true friends are a sure refuge. The young they keep out of mischief. To the old, they are a comfort and aid in their weakness, and those in the prime of life they incite to noble deeds. The young are permanently in a state resembling intoxication. There was never a genius without a tincture of madness. If one way be better than another, that you may be sure is nature's way. Men acquire a particular quality by constantly acting in a particular way. For one swallow does not make a summer, nor does one day, and so too one day or a short time does not make a man blessed and happy. All virtue is summed up in dealing justly. A sense is what has the power of receiving into itself the sensible forms of things without the matter, in the way in which a piece of wax takes on the impress of a signet ring without the iron or gold. The gods, too, are fond of a joke. Excellence, then, is a state concerned with choice, lying in a mean relative to us, this being determined by reason and in the way in which the man of practical wisdom would determine it. Most people would rather give than get affection. For though we love both the truth and our friends, piety requires us to honor the truth first. Probable impossibilities are to be preferred to improbable possibilities.